Hey everybody, Josh Kelly here with Citadel Benefits Group. Today I've got something really exciting that we're going to show you. And you've probably heard about this process from us. We've talked about it, but it's the Debt Free for Life. It's an amazing program. It's a great way to get out of debt, and if you're a broker, to help your clients get out of debt and run some more insurance business. It's great for everybody. And I have Keefe Duterte and Ryan Smith on here from Smart Advisor Network. And they're going to go through the presentation. And we have the woman, the myth, the legend, Brie Jeffries here from our office, and she is going to be the client today. So Keith and Ryan are going to go through the presentation, start to finish. This is what a normal one would look like, so you can see the process. So with that being said, I'm going to mute and jump out, and you take it away, Keith.
Thanks, Josh. Hey, Brie, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you. So let's start from the beginning. Even though we're recording this to show other people how to do this, right now what's most important is your situation and to see if there's a better way to potentially pay off your debt faster and pay less interest if it makes sense for you. But before I kind of jump into it, I'm kind of curious. Really, because Brie, I don't know enough to know if this is perfect for you or the right solution
Right.
for your life. But we have been able to help a lot of clients get out of debt really quickly. So I'm curious, based on what you heard already or seen already, what was it that made you want to have a conversation about this today?
Um, when we ran the proposal, finding out I could have my house paid off in 6 years.
That's a big
That
difference,
that that's
right?
pretty much it. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I just
Okay.
bought it 4 years ago. So having a house paid off in 10 when you signed a 30-year mortgage is very
Hmm.
enticing.
So when you saw that, I show this to a lot of people. I've shown Debt Free for Life to, Ryan and I have worked together. We've shown it to tons of different people. When they see things like that or they hear things like that, the first thing that typically comes out of people's mouths is, that's too good to be true. Ain't
Exactly.
no
I
way
know.
that can happen. So tell me, did you have those feelings where
I
you're like,
did.
this doesn't really make sense?
100%.
You're like, I was supposed to, so you bought the house, what'd you say, 4 years ago?
Yeah, in 2020.
Okay. So your expectation was if I stay in this house, I pay this off 30 years, 2050.
Yep.
Okay. And now you're finding out it could be 2030, 2031.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely seems too good to be true, right?
100%. Yeah,
It does.
without a doubt.
So when you kind of went through that, I believe that some people there's kind of this nagging feeling like, that seems like a lot. How do I know if this is really the right thing? So
Right.
tell me, what were kind of some of the thoughts that you had that when you saw it?
That it's too good to be true.
Hmm.
And then I had questions about, eh, how long am I going to be overpaying that extra
Hmm.
amount after I do pay off my debt?
Hmm.
Am I still going to be paying the equivalent of
Hmm.
what I'm paying per month in bills
Hmm.
into the whole life policy? So I had some questions regarding that. Um, but that was the biggest questions I had,
Okay.
which I have a little bit more of an understanding of how this works, but
Hmm.
with that being said, it primarily this sounds too good to be true. Where's the catch?
Okay. Definitely. I mean, that's what
Where's the
people,
snake in the grass?
where's the catch? What other things? And let me tell you that what I will show you today is definitely not magic. It's just
Mhm.
math, but there is a
Right,
catch. And the catch is you have to be disciplined following the plan.
right,
And when we plan anything that's longer than a couple months or a year, it's a pretty big commitment. So when we
right.
talk through these things, I want you to be real mindful of your situation, what could work and what may not work for you. Okay. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to kind of walk you through how it all works, Debt
Okay.
Free for Life, and kind of the basis for it. As I walk you through this, if there's something that doesn't make sense, please stop me and I'll kind of go through that. Okay. Because I know we're recording, but what's most important for me right now is that you understand how this works and you see how it works for your life. Okay.
Okay.
So first, let me pull up my Debt Free for Life presentation here, and I'll kind of walk you through how all this works. Can you see my screen there, Bree?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay. So Debt Free for Life. How does it work? That's usually the first question.
First question.
So the base of our whole program is surrounded by this concept called a debt snowball, made famous by a guy named Dave Ramsey. Now, have you heard of this strategy before?
Very
Seen it,
familiar.
right? Okay, so tell me, what have you heard about it, or have you done anything like this before?
No, the household I grew up in was religious about listening to Dave Ramsey.
Okay.
Every morning on the way to school, I listened to his talk show. So,
Oh, well, you're
um,
programmed. So what did he learn? So tell me when you hear stuff like that, that's interesting. So when you hear stuff like that, it definitely changes the way that you think
it
about
does.
money, debt, and stuff like that. So tell me some of
Hmm.
the ideas that you heard, and I'll kind of share how this is similar or maybe different.
Um, how do you mean? I'm sorry.
Just when you were
Um,
listening to Dave Ramsey in the morning, or what were some of the things that you learned from maybe your parents or you saw that happened pretty common?
um, not accumulating credit card debt, which is
Okay.
something that I have not done. Um, and then this is difficult for me because I don't have very much debt. So,
Mhm.
and I've done that because I've
Good.
listened to
Good.
how much trouble people can get in with debt. So,
Definitely.
I haven't had to apply his debt snowball to my life because I've been very intentional about not being in debt.
Okay. Awesome.
Um, and I
Very
know
good.
that that's probably not a great answer for what you're doing here, but that's just the truth. Outside of my cards and my mortgage, I don't really
Mhm.
have any debt. So, that being said, if something were to happen in my life,
Mhm.
I would have the tools to know how to pay it and
Yeah, definitely.
um, start with your high interest stuff, pay it off, move on down
Mhm.
from there.
Definitely. Definitely. So what I'll do is kind of walk you through kind of the base of exactly how we do it. Debt Snowball, I know you have some experience, but just for everybody else also listening, I'll kind of
Yeah.
go slowly about how it works. And
Yes.
then we'll kind of apply it to your situation and how you could deploy this strategy. But I mean, just in the household of understanding that, there are times that we do need debt. You're going to buy
Hmm.
a big purchase, right?
Right.
Houses, cars, those are things that we sometimes are in need of some credit, and that's why it's available.
100%.
However, what we need to look at is how we're being charged for what we're borrowing, and if we think it's fair, and is there a better way to pay these things off,
Right.
a more efficient way for you and your family. So, um, here's how a traditional debt snowball works. Okay, so step one in attacking your debt is first, let's get a handle of where we're at right now. So I'm going to give you a generic situation. We'll say this client has three different debts, has one credit card, one student loan, and one auto debt. Now, the debt snowball strategy says we are going to attack these debts in this order, smallest to largest. Okay. So the balances are important for that reason, but what we really want to hone in on is what is the monthly minimum payment? So for the credit card in this situation, it's $71, $643 for the student loan, and then $413 for the car payment. Okay. So every single month, this client has to pay $1,127 a month in their minimum payments. And that's just those three numbers added together. Cool so far, Brie?
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So what that snowball strategy says is just pay the minimums on all three. And if you have anything extra that you want to pay towards your debt, mathematically, math says let's go after the smallest one first. So if you have any extra, you throw it at that. And when that's paid off, you take the minimum payment you were sending to the credit card plus the extra, and you tack it on to the minimum payment of the student loan, and then you rinse
Right.
and repeat. Okay. So when you do that, the great news is you pay off your debt really
Right.
quickly. And I'll show you how that works. So let's go back to the scenario and say this client has an extra $500 that they want to allocate to get rid of their debt quickly. Okay. So what we're going to do is throw that extra 500 just at the credit card. We'll keep the minimum payments the same. So what we're doing is we're locking in your budget, what your normal minimum payments for these debt balances, and then whatever extra that you have. And then that budget never changes until we get through the whole process. Okay. So
Got it.
once we pay that off, we had 571 going to that credit card. Now we're going to throw it at the student loan. So now you got 1214 going to the student loan, just paying the minimum on the car payment. it's the same budget. We're just, when we pay something off, we're not taking that money and just spend it on whatever. We're reapplying that to the next debt to hyperpay these things off. And this is why you see huge numbers of, man, I could pay this off in half the time. I'm paying off my mortgage in 10 years instead of 30. This is where the real power happens. And then we rinse and repeat. And when we're done, you're 100% debt free. And that's what you hear probably on Dave Ramsey, people calling in the morning when you're a kid, yelling in the phone, I'm
Yep.
debt free,
I'm
screaming,
free.
right? Like
Yep.
you heard these things, right? There's only one problem is when we use all of our extra money to pay off debt and then it's gone, we're broke. And this is what I've heard from clients for years and years and years. I started my career at Merrill Lynch. And when people had debt problems 20 years ago, we were talking about this is the way that you pay it off. But what would happen is people would spend their money, pay it off, and then something would come up, Brie. Maybe a new roof for your house, or maybe a new
Exactly.
car, or something that would require them to get some more debt to pay these big purchases off.
Right.
So this is why Matt Zagula at the Smart Advisor Network created Debt Free for Life. It's a way to modify this debt snowball, but when we do it, as we're paying things off, we're also building cash for you on the side. So the next time you have a big purchase, you don't only have to go to the bank, you have some other options. It's because we understand what Albert Einstein said when he said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And Bree, if you're in debt, guess which one applies to you?
Paying it.
Yeah, it's not the good one. It's not
Not the good one.
So what we did and what Matt Zagula, when he created this program in 2017, was he took this great idea of a debt snowball, but wanted to marry it with a solution where we could also build cash as we go forward. It's basically a modified snowball approach. So here's the same situation I showed you before. Okay, client still has that extra 500. So when we're looking at the debt snowball, where would we throw that extra 500, Bree? Here's your test to see if you were listening.
The credit card.
Okay,
Or no,
correct.
no, no. Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes,
I
you
got
are
it right.
correct. Yeah, you should have
Cool.
let that first answer. Don't change your answer. Remember what they told us in school. We don't change your answer. We trust our gut, right? So correct. We pay the minimums and then we throw the extra at the smallest amount. Credit card is in
Mm-hmm.
this case. Now, when we modify this, what we do is we still pay the minimums on all the debt that we have outstanding, but we take that extra and we throw it into your debt free for life account, which is a high cash value whole life insurance contract. So the way that it works, this process in conjunction with our debt free for life software will do two things. It will track as your cash rises in your debt free for life account. It will also track as your debt decreases because you're still paying the minimum. And
Mm-hmm.
once we have enough to pay off the first debt, we send you a text message, we send the money to the credit card company, and then it's gone. Now, if you remember, there's that other extra 71 that you're paying towards that. And what we're going to do is we're going to get you into the habit, Brie, of paying yourself back. Okay, so you're going to take that $71 and pay yourself back into your high cash value whole life insurance contract. Then the same thing, our software is going to track as the cash value rises in your account. And as your student loan in this situation drops, once we have enough to pay off that next loan, send you a text message and we rinse and repeat until the whole thing is gone. We accomplished the same thing that we did with the debt snowball. You're 100% debt free. However, you're not broke. So let's look at the numbers and see for a scenario which makes the most sense for you. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm going to take that original scenario and with handling your debt, you got three choices, Bree, just like everybody else. Okay. Option number one, do nothing. Just pay what they tell you to pay, be on your way. You'll have your lowest minimum payments. However, you'll be in debt the longest time. So in this scenario, if you just paid the minimum payments on those three debt accounts, you'd be in debt for 7 years. And once you paid it off, there's no extra money left over, obviously. Now, the debt snowball, just the pure debt snowball with the $500 per month, Your monthly minimum payments are a little bit higher, obviously, because you're adding an extra 500. But Bree, look what it does to the amount of time that you're in debt. You go from 7 years to 3 years and
Hmm.
just paying an extra $500 a month. It changes the number significantly. Now,
Yeah.
a pure debt snowball is the fastest way to get out of debt. So if you want to just get out of debt really quickly, you don't care about having money on the side, then this is the way to go. You don't need anybody's help. I kind of already showed you how to do it. So that's one
Right.
way to. Now, with our debt free for life account, it's the same amount to pay off, same budget. You'll be in debt for approximately 6 more months than in the debt snowball scenario. However, here's the big difference.
The cash
When it's
money.
all paid off, you have $17,618 in tax-free cash that you can buy things better in the future. So here is an example of a report that we do for clients. So what our software does is we just put in all the different debt accounts that you have, and we can do that for you here in a second, Bree. We go through the balances, the interest rates, the payments. But this is the big thing that our software does. Do you see that number in the bottom right corner, 25.36, Bree?
Hmm. I
That
do.
is what our software calculates, and that's your effective interest costs. So what does that mean? That means 25.36%, 25 cents of every dollar you're sending, or this client was sending a MasterCard, Visa, Bank of America, 25 cents of every dollar was going to interest, pure interest. Said another way, if you look right next to that number where it says 907, I want you to take your calculator and check my math for me, Bree. So 907, let's see, go 907 times 12. What number do you get?
10,884.
So when I showed this to a client, she said, "You're going to tell me that I'm paying $10,884 in just interest." I said, "Yes." She said, "How the heck am I going to pay this money down if that's all that money is just going to
Right.
interest, right?" And we wonder when we go get a loan for a home or car, the stack of paper is about this thick. People typically do not read it. We hear this interest rate and we're like, yeah, is that good? But the
Right.
math behind the math about how this actually works is pretty surprising. Because the reality is, Bree, if you got money, so most people they'll say, okay, the blended interest rate's 3.3. Okay, I'll put money in my savings account. I'm making 5. It seems to make sense,
Right.
but that's not what's happening. Because where on God's green earth, Bree, are you making 25.36% every single year on your investments without fail?
Nowhere.
But they're taking it every single month. Do you see why
Right.
this is the problem that's holding you back with the debt? It's not the
Hmm.
amount or the APR, it's how they are charging you for the
Right.
interest. So this is what we did for her. What we did is we put in her account and we figured out, okay, if she did nothing, just did it what the bank wanted her to do, she'd be in debt until December 2039. Following our plan, she'll get out in June 2028. And just by her paying these things off quickly, she'll save $49,650 just in interest. So when that person tells you, hey, don't pay that thing off, you don't want to pay off your house, you don't want to pay these things off, they've never done the math. They have never done the math because it will always help you to pay these things off early with the amount of interest that you're going to end up saving by paying it off early. Even better news is she was debt free and she'll be in debt free in 6 years, pay off the whole 327,000, and then by year 9, she'll have $227,000 in a tax-free cash account where she can buy things better in the future. So I know, Bree, that's a generic example of somebody that it doesn't apply to as much.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do, if you're okay with it, is kind of build you your own plan. Kind of go through your debts, we'll add them in there, and then we'll kind of see what the software says and see if this is a program that might make sense for you. Isn't that
Sure.
okay way to proceed? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So let me pull up our Debt free for life account here. And let me add you in here, Brie. Okay. I'm glad I can see your name on there because I spell it wrong.
That was about to be your test to see if you could
I'm
spell
like,
my
can I
name right.
read? Can I read? All right. So what we're going to do here, there's only a few things that we need to do to kind of get your report. So let's add in these different debts. So what we'll do is tell me the type. And I believe you said you don't, you just have the cars and the mortgage right now. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay, so
yes, I
let's go
do.
with car number one. Who's the banker lender that has that?
It would be PNC.
Okay, PNC. Okay, and your current balance right now?
Is it's around 28,000. I was trying to pull up the dollar amount.
Okay. We can ballpark for now, and then if this
Okay,
does make sense in the future, then we can true up these numbers. No,
got it.
not a big deal that we're perfectly exact right now.
Okay.
And what's your minimum payment, Bree?
It's 452.
452. And what's your interest rate?
It is 7.3%, I believe.
Okay. And then go picture another way here. Let's add another one. You got one more car, you said?
I do. That one is
Okay.
financed through my personal bank, Lister Hill Credit Union.
Did I spell that right?
It's one word, Lister Hill is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. And current balance.
Current balance is 7,250.
Okay. And minimum payment? 50 and interest rate.
That one I'm not 100% sure. I bought it from my brother. I think it's somewhere around 5%.
Okay. We can true those up too.
Yeah,
That sounds about right. And then, all right. And then you just got the
the
home
mortgage.
mortgage. Okay.
Um,
Who's that with?
that is with Penny Mac.
Okay. And your current balance.
It's just a C, not that it matters. Penny Mac, just with a C, no K at the end.
Okay.
And then the balance on it is, I'm actually pulling that up right now because I didn't look after I made my last payment. 163,784.
Perfect. And minimum payment, that's just, do you escrow your insurance and taxes?
I do.
Okay, so it's just principal and interest. So
Okay.
with your monthly payment,
So,
do you know how much goes to principal and
yeah, I can
interest?
tell you.
Okay.
Let's see. My minimum payment's 942. I'm trying to
Okay.
figure out how much of it's just principal. Ah, here we go. Um, $379.85 is principal, $307.81 is interest.
Okay. 307.81 is interest, and what was the other for principal?
379.85 is principal.
So add those two together is your payment. That's principal and interest. 307.81, 379.85, 307.81. I'm at 687.66.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's, and then what's your interest rate?
2.25.
Got that at, you never move. You will never
I know.
move ever. 2.25.
My
Sheesh.
my first home is my forever home.
At that rate, I don't know if money will ever be that cheap again.
I know. It's
Sheesh. All right.
crazy.
So
And then I do actually have one credit card you can put
okay.
on there.
Yeah, let's add that.
It is CFNA.
Okay. So credit card C. Okay. And the current balance?
It's 509.85.
All right. And what's the minimum payment that they require you to do? It's
The
probably,
minimum payment they require is
yeah.
50. I pay 150 every month. It's a 6 months no interest
Okay.
card, so I pay it off before interest accrues.
Okay. So 0% interest, right? Sweet.
Yeah, 0%.
Okay. Good deal. So, all right. So when we're looking at this, it looks like the total debt is 199,293.85 and a blended interest rate of 3.05. On the surface, everyone's like, 200,000 people are like, maybe that bothers you, maybe it doesn't. Everybody has different feelings about that. But those numbers, those first two numbers in the black are not the problem, Brie. The problem is how
That
debt is
interest.
structured based on an amortization schedule. So of your payments that are required, $1,439.66, $506 of that is just going to interest, which means 35% of every payment, 35 cents of every dollar is just going to interest that you're paying. So here's the question, Bree, as I asked you before, for yourself, where on God's green earth can we get you 35% in some kind of interest-bearing account, some investment that's going to be guaranteed for you?
Right. Nowhere that I know of.
So this is the number that we have to compare things. This is when we make a decision. Hey, I got an extra $200. Do I put it in a savings account that I'm making 5, 8%? If you can make that much, or do I pay off this problem that is
Right.
35.15%, right? So it is it's a big deal, Bree, to go through that. Does this make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So one of the things, let me grab a form that I have so I can kind of walk you through. So really what our goal is going to be, Bree, is to to see if there's a way where we can use the money that you already have more efficiently. Okay. My goal isn't to increase your budget. It's to say, what are you already doing right now? And if we maybe move some of those parts around, is that
Hmm.
better for Bree or is it not? Are you doing everything as efficient as possible? So let me
Right.
grab this form real quick. Thought I had it. Oh, I think my son stole my form. That's totally fine. So That's that's what he likes to do. He likes to write on random things that I need, but I could just walk you. It's very easy to walk through this real quick. Okay, so I'll kind of just pull out a form I used for somebody else and use the writing on it, but it
No
will
worries.
also serve the point. Their effective interest cost was pretty similar to yours. So what I'm going to do is I got my little handy. Do you remember in school when we used to have like projectors and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
And I asked Ryan, I was like, find something where I can like write on something. But he found me this. So I will. So let me stop sharing this and I'll kind of walk you through uh, how we see if we can find what makes sense for your budget. Okay, based
Okay.
on stuff that you um, are doing right now. So give me a second. There we go. Okay, so can you see this? We're gonna
Yes.
actually pretty similar to yours. Okay, so if you remember, do you remember what our effective interest cost was?
35.15.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, 35.15%. Okay, so here is our problem that they are taking from you 35 cents on every dollar that you're sending to them. So we want to reduce that as much as possible. Okay. So the first thing, are you paying anything extra towards your debt? Like you mentioned, your credit card, $100 more. Are you paying
Yes.
anything? How much are you paying every single month extra towards your debts right now?
Um, I'm paying $100 extra on that credit card.
Hmm.
I usually pay an extra 50 on the Lister Hill.
Okay.
We've only had the PNC loan for that car. We've only had it 2 months, so right now we're just making the
Okay.
minimum on that, and then just the minimum
Okay.
on the mortgage.
So you're doing 150 already extra. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting, this is what I hear from a lot of people. They'll say, well, I pay a little bit extra on this and a little bit. Many people do that, okay? Because it just seems like it makes sense. Oh, I owe 40, I'll pay 60, or I'll just round
Right.
it. Now, mathematically, what it says is that extra 150, always throw it at the smallest one.
Right.
Okay? Until we get rid of it, then we can move to the next one. Okay. So just functionally think about that. And then right now, do you have a 401k?
My employer doesn't provide one.
Okay. I'll have to talk about Josh about that. Okay. Are you putting anything into a savings account every
I
single
am,
month?
yes. I
Okay.
have a high yield savings account that I put $500 in per month.
Okay. And how much is that yielding?
It's yielding 4.8% right now.
Okay. 4.8%. Okay, so here's a question. We got 4.8% on a positive right here, right? We
Hmm.
got a negative 35.15%. Does it make a lot of sense to put money in a bucket that's making 4.8 when right here we got a leaky bucket that's losing 35 and a half?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So this is the math behind the math that we're looking at, right?
Hmm.
Because on the surface, if you look at your mortgage, for example, you're like, man, it's only 2.2. I'm making 4.8 over here. Obviously, I put it in sales. We're not comparing the right number, if that makes
Right.
sense. Um,
The numbers I was comparing when I moved that is
mhm.
I had all of my money in, your standard bank
Yeah.
savings
Hmm.
account.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
for sure.
to me, why have it sitting here stagnant when I could have it over here earning some interest? So
100%.
that's
100%.
why it got moved over to that.
So let's look, since I have the worst paper trying to show this organization, let's highlight what's important. So this is all Brie stuff. Okay. So if we look at that, is there anything extra you'd want to put towards your debt to get rid of it based on your budget right now? Or that's about it, this 650 got going on?
Um, I would probably say, and this is just me personally, I could
Mhm.
take 250 out of what's going to that high yields account in
Mhm.
addition to that 150 and call that the additional contribution for this,
Okay.
because I don't want to stop when I'm funding that high yields account
Mhm.
entirely.
100%. 100%. Okay. So 400, does that seem like a
Yes.
number? If we said, okay, you already got kind of 400 going out, but this won't change your budget at all.
Right.
And if we just redirect it, let's see what it would do for
Yeah.
your debt situation. Is that an
Hmm.
okay? Does that make
Yes.
sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So let me get out of that here. Almost hit leave the meeting. That would have not been, that would have been a wrong button to hit, guys. All right.
Well, thanks for the
So
info.
yes, and that's it. And I'm out. Okay. So almost done here. We'll wrap up here pretty shortly. Okay. So here's your situation back into it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in this budget and see how this changes things for you. See if it makes more sense. And then what I'll do is I'll pull up a report and we'll put them side by side and say, okay, what looks like makes the most sense for Brie? Okay. So I need to edit the program. And, okay, let's go back right now. So right now, if you remember, so right now your payments every single month are 1,439.66. Okay, that's your minimum
Right.
payments. And then we're going to add 400. And that's when we talked about at the beginning, it sounds too good to be true. Here is the question that your budget better than anybody else. In order for this to work, you
Hmm.
have to be able to be consistent above the
Right.
minimum. So we have to find a number that makes a lot of sense. So if we add those two numbers together here, I got 1839.66. So that would be your monthly outflow that will be going towards your debt and the debt snowball strategy. Okay, so we got 1839, 66. And then we're going to take the annual, which is that extra that we had, which is 400 times 12, which is 4,800. And this is how we're going to structure this policy to build a lot of cash for you. And save. Okay. And now let's look at what the debt plan looks like for you. Okay. I'll go back. This right here is our system that powers everything. Let me close that. And let's go to debt report. Okay. Can you see that,
Hmm.
Brie? Okay, so let's walk through this and see what our software tells us. Okay. So here's again the debts that we had that we pulled over from before.
Hmm.
The credit card, the two cars, and the mortgage. Again, you can see our balance 199, 293. And then that big effective interest cost of 35.15% that we were really going after. Okay. So why does this even matter? Let me show you the
Hey,
math.
Keith. Hey, real
Yes.
quick, you need to go to the emeritus to get the illustration to input in there or
Oh
the
yeah.
document.
I'll put that in there. Yeah. Thank you very much. I knew
You're
I
welcome.
was.
Just jump to it.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. See, this is what happens when I rely on Ryan. He usually does it on the back end for
Yeah.
me, and then he just puts it in. So let me build your illustration first to see how your cash will grow. Thanks, Ryan. Can you see this Emeritus illustration? So these are one of our insurance partners, and what we'll do
You're
just
still on the Smart
Yeah.
Advisor website.
okay, thanks. I don't know if it's switched over or not. Here we go. What this will do is this will help us see how the cash will grow for you and
Got
see
it.
if this is something that looks good for your situation. But for me to get some accurate numbers, let's pull this up real quick. So we're going to go new. Three. I want to put IES for some reason.
I know everybody does.
I know.
Also,
Uh, how
since
young are
this
you?
is, I'm 32.
Okay. I'm not going to ask
Date
for
of,
your date of birth right now because I
okay,
will get that later. I just don't want to share on any of the video. So
got it. Got
don't
it.
ask her age, guys. Okay, she's 32. She's really 21. All right. Okay, so
Long way from 21.
yeah, and you are in the state of Roll Tide, Alabama, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Illustration for you here. And let's see how this folds out. Okay. Monthly. And Ryan, if I'm missing anything, let me know on here. Good here. Should be able to get this pretty quick. I love the speed of the internet here. Okay, all right, that looks right. So what I'm setting up, what I'm going to show you is that you pay into this policy for 10 years. You could go longer or shorter, but I'm just getting an idea that if you just funded this for 10 years and then just stopped and then did nothing
Right.
else. Okay. So kind of to answer your question before, I'm not trying to build something that you have to pay into for the remainder of your life. You
Right.
could, you can, but
Right.
that's really not the goal
The
to
goal.
saddle you
Right.
with something extra forever. It's to get rid of the debt, build enough cash that you have that you can use yourself as an option when you need some money for any of the big purchases that we tend to have in life. Okay. All right. So there we go. Thank you, Ryan, for that. All right, let me stop share and now I'll show you the report after I upload this in here. And then I'll send you all this stuff after, Brie, so you can have it
Okay.
and then look over it and see if there is any other questions that you have. There you go. See, year 14. See if I can. Oh. Year 14. Ryan, do you see 60,631 and aren't reading that right? Show my screen if you're out there.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Six 31. All right, here we go. Okay. Drum roll. There we go, Brie. Got it all. Let's go through it. Okay. So here you are, Brie. All right, so back to where I was at before. And remember, the big problem that we're looking at is that 35.15%. And why that, and what that means for in dollars wise is right now, Bree, you owe 199,293. If you pay it the way the banks have it structured, just pay what they told you to pay, you'll pay an extra $61,000 in interest, which is crazy to
That
think
is crazy.
that you will pay that much more than what you owe right now, right?
Right.
It is, and that's the way amortization schedules are built, is that you pay a higher percentage of your payment interest at the beginning, then it slowly goes down over time. So let's look at the difference. Okay, so based on the way it's structured right now, if you just pay the credit card, Lister Hill, PNC, and PennyMac what they asked for, you will be debt-free May 2051.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems like what you thought, your 30-year mortgage, all those things you'll be,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you take the extra 400 that is already in your budget and redirect it here instead of a little extra just at the credit card or in your savings account,
Mm-hmm.
look what it does to the amount of time that you're in debt.
Yeah.
2037. Okay. So what does that mean practically? Number one, it means that you're going to save $24,650 in interest, which is huge.
That is huge.
And if you don't like that, you can go ahead and send it to me. I'll keep it. What's even more exciting is you'll pay off your debt 14 years faster by
Yeah.
basically doing exactly what you're doing right now, just shifting it one way or other. Like this money is already
Mm-hmm.
coming out of your account, just putting it in the best place for you. So our timeline will pay off the credit card in May. We'll pay off Lister Hill in July 2026. You'll pay your other car in November 2025. So in 46 months, less than 4 years from now, you will only have your
Oh.
mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you continue to follow this plan, you will pay that off in May 2037. That's the good news. But what even the better news is by the next year, October 2038, you'll have $60,631 in tax-free cash of that you can buy things better with. And if you remember, this is only funding this policy for 10 years and then just stopping and then
Right.
letting it go. You're not even putting any extra towards it. You're just letting it build. So if we funded it for the whole 14 years of how long, probably paid off a little bit quicker, but there's a lot of different options that you can do. So
Right.
let's look at the summary for you. So if you take money that's already in your budget right now and just use math, shifting it to something that is getting rid of this big problem that's it's not as obvious until we spend some time looking at it. Like when you pulled out your mortgage statement and you read off basically half is going to interest and half is
Right.
going to the principal.
Right.
This is what takes forever to pay things off. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you follow a process like this, you will a few things you'll for your benefit. First, you'll save $24,650 in interest. You'll
Hmm.
have $60,631 in tax-free cash to buy things better. So a plan like this would benefit you toward $85,000, 281 in your benefit by just shifting some stuff around, not an extra dollar coming out of your budget every single month. Just putting it in the place that will help you get rid of the biggest problem, and that's debt, because it is a drag. And we all kind of
Yeah.
know it, but when you see the numbers, it makes a difference. So when you go through this, tell me some of the thoughts of some of the stuff that you like that doesn't make sense, and then let's kind of talk through the
It
next.
all makes sense. It
Okay.
all makes sense. I mean, it seems like a dumb idea to not do it, to be
Mhm.
honest with you. Um,
Well, what it is, it's one of those things that it takes time. Okay.
mhm.
It took time to get into this debt. It takes time to kind of
Right,
unwind these things. So it's
right,
about discipline. When you first start, it's like anything. When people get into this, they want it to happen really fast. It's going to take a while still.
yeah,
So it's sticking with it, and our system will message you every single month if there's anything different you have to do, or just to really encourage you. And then when the time comes when you pay off the first debt, you'll get a message from our system. Ryan will call you. We'll set it up, pay it off, and then help you restructure how we're going to do this. So this isn't something like, hey, get this thing and then you'll be great. This is a partnership of us working together for,
right, right,
okay. Also, there's going to be things that come up. You might have to get back in debt. Something might happen. Things,
right,
life. Okay. We will work with you and continue to adjust the plan and make sure that you're making the right decisions. This isn't about being perfect for the next 14 years. This is about
right,
using math to be better with your money and putting it in a place that helps you the most, as
right,
opposed to it seems like it helps me the most. Let's just see what the math says.
right,
Okay. So what I just showed you today, Bree, is it's just, it's an illustration, it's an idea of how I think it's going to work. The
right.
next step, what most people do, they're like you, they get pretty excited. They're like, okay, yeah, let's do this. We have some steps. So the next step
Yeah,
is to see, will our insurance partner, will they approve you for the plan that I just showed you? Okay.
right.
And there'll be a few things that we'll have to do. So Ryan's here with me. What we'll do is we'll gather some information
Okay,
to put in to apply for this policy. Now, you don't have to put any money down yet. We're going to apply for them, and then they'll come back and tell us if you're approved immediately, or half the time they'll say, there's a little more information we need. We might need some medical records. You might have to do a urine or blood test, but that's about 50% of the time. You being, young, typically we can get this approved pretty fast. So, um, are you comfortable moving to the next step and putting stuff into an application to see if we can get you approved for this type of policy?
Um, ideally, yes. I do
Mhm.
have a husband that I need to talk with about all of this,
100%.
of course.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I mean, this sounds like a fantastic program. So,
And
um,
that's the best part of it. What I would love is the next time that when we get an approval from the carrier, to
yeah,
sit down, us and you and your husband, go through it and see if it makes sense. Move the
right,
budget, any of these things.
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any money going towards getting rid of it quicker is better than none. So
right, right,
what most people do is they just apply to see if they'll even get approved. And if they're
right.
approved, then I can say, okay, here's the exact plan.
Hmm.
Let's go through it and then see what you guys want to do.
Right.
A lot of times you'll say, a client will say 400, but then they'll come back, let's do 300, 350. I'm going to get you to push down a little bit because
Yeah,
people get excited, but we can play with different numbers to see
right.
what the end effect is and what makes the most sense.
Yeah. And I mean, there is my husband and I have been talking about getting me in a retirement account. As I said earlier, I
Mhm.
don't currently have a 401k. So that is something that when this was presented to me, I have to figure out about how much extra I can afford to put into the program, but also I need to put some money into a
Yeah,
retirement account. So there's some
100%.
structuring that I need to do anyways.
Yeah, and
But
we
yeah,
can help you run
the
any of
quicker
those
I pay off
numbers.
my debt, the more money I can be putting into retirement as well. So,
Well, yeah, when you have less obligations, then you can
right,
reallocate those monies to other things like that, right?
right.
So, putting stuff into a retirement account over a long period of time is a very smart move.
Yes.
The question becomes immediately, Do you think you'll make 35% in that retirement account consistently?
Right. No, I doubt
And
it.
if not, then let's get rid of them charging you 35%, and then we could hyperfund that stuff. Because
Yeah.
if you have no bills, and this is the
Right.
big thing that people don't think about retirement planning. So they think about retirement planning, I got to accumulate assets, 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 right? I got to have a
Right.
whole big pile of money to pay out for the remainder of my life, which in one part is correct. But the part that people fail to look at is go into retirement and eliminate all bills.
Mm-hmm.
So by doing a process like this, we are actually doing retirement planning because we're trying to get you to
Right.
retirement owing nothing to anybody.
That
And when
makes
you're
a
in a
lot of sense.
situation like that, it makes the obligations or stress of retirement much less because
Right.
you don't have any obligation. You don't have anything that you got to keep working to pay this or that.
Right.
Let's get you to a point where you can decide how long you want to work, what you want to do, and you don't have to save as much money when you don't owe anybody anything.
That's true. That's a very, very good point.
So when you're thinking about retirement planning, think on both sides. You
Okay.
definitely need money, but also you want to reduce your expenses as much as
Right.
possible. And if we could walk
That
into
is so tough.
retirement debt free, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I know.
I mean,
Absolutely.
so when we were talking, you're spot on about retirement planning. This works
Hmm.
hand in hand. And
Awesome.
what
Okay.
I would say is everything in life isn't an or, right? It doesn't mean do
Right.
this, don't do that. No, we can still
Right.
do both,
Right.
but we may say, let's have a conversation of what makes the most sense to shift more money here or
Yes.
there, and just let the
Okay.
math kind of work through the stuff.
Okay.
So that's typically, so if you're okay with it,
Yeah.
what Ryan will do is just grab a couple pieces of information. We'll
Okay.
submit an application.
Okay.
And when the numbers come back, you can still say this doesn't seem right or I need some time. There's no
Yeah.
obligation, but I would love to show you something that you could say yes or no to as opposed to a hypothetical of how it may
Yeah.
look. So,
Absolutely.
okay. And that's about it because I'm not going to show you guys Bree's all her information, even though you may want it. You may try to get her phone number. You ain't getting it on here. She taking, guys. You ain't getting her number. All right.
Unless you're trying to pay my debt for me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Never mind. Curveball.
Here's the number, ladies and gentlemen. Awesome. Well, everybody, I'm gonna cut it off so they can do what they're gonna do there. But this program, if it's somebody that is concerned about debt in any way, which is 98% of the population, and they have a little bit of extra money, there's just no reason they would say no to this. It just makes so much sense for everyone because ultimately, at the end of the day, nobody is that disciplined, and we need a tool, a device to do that. And what a great way to end up with some cash left over. So, if you want some more information on this, you can go to our website. It's citadelbg.com, Citadl. B as in boy, G as in girl.com. You can email us at VIP@citadelbg.com, or you can call us here at the office of 256-826-5674. That's 256-826-JOSH, because they gave me that phone number. Why not? It was available, so I had to get it. But that is it. Thanks so much, everyone, for your time. Bree, thank you for being the client here. Keith, Ryan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
And everybody that's watching, give us a call. We look forward to working with you.